Simon, thank you very much for joining us today. Everybody, my name is Kate Shoesmith. I'm the Deputy Chief Executive at the Recruitment and Employment Confederation. I am delighted to be joined by Simon Thorpe, who is the MD of the Expressions Partnership, and he's also the brains and the brawn behind Management Academy, which has been going now for nearly the whole year. So we started this in 2022, the partnership between Expressions and REC. Simon, tell us a little bit about the Management Academy.
Right, okay. I guess the origin of this, obviously being a young manager many years ago, I got frustrated with these one-hit wonders, where you go and do a one-day course and go, wow, that was amazing. And the next day you've forgotten half of it and don't actually put it into practice. And then I worked in IT recruitment as HR stroke training, and I devised the first ever edition of the Management Academy. Because like most organizations, especially in sales, especially in recruitment, we just tend to promote people who are technically the best recruiters into managers of recruiters, and we know where that leads, don't we? So we actually run the Management Academy for a range of different sectors, organizations and countries. We've even done it for REC staff way back in the day. I guess that's how the partnership started. So that's what it is. It's very interactive. I don't talk about theory. If you want to do a course on theory, go on the internet, buy a book, go to a library. If you want to have meaningful, pragmatic discussions about how to further improve your management performance, that's what we talk about.
And I think that has never been more important. So we talk about this a lot. So we are living through very interesting times, changing times. Yeah. What do you think that means for why learning and development is so crucial at this point in our history, if you like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know, don't we, in the recruitment sector, we have cycles of client-driven and candidate-driven perspectives. We're obviously now currently, as we're recording this, in a candidate-driven market, but to the likes of which we probably haven't seen before. The older population in the workforce are choosing potentially to retire earlier, post-pandemic era, because they're looking at their cost of going to work, their pension pot surrender. They think, yeah, let's give that a go. So we're losing a lot of knowledge, skills, and experience at the more established end of the employment market. The younger population are choosing to go back to work. Stay in. Do that again. The younger population are choosing to stay in education. Therefore, the middle population, people like you and I, are being overemployed. There are less people on the planet eligible to work than there are jobs available. So you have three options, right? Automation, possible. Learning, development, and investing in people, or procreation. I don't feel qualified to talk about number three. Number two, I can talk about, which is we invest in our people so they want to stay and contribute to our organization. That's nothing new, but it's imperative right now because candidates and employees are choosing very carefully where they want to work, how they want to work, and why they want to work.
And I couldn't agree with that more. And I think even if you take the automation route, so when you talk about this, what does automation do? It creates different kinds of jobs. And actually, one of the things it does is it adds jobs to the market. So even if you are thinking about your whole tech stack and where you're going as a business, you're going to be thinking, how do you train people to use this effectively? How do you make sure you get your return on investment? What's the processes that lie behind all of that? That's all people driven. So it may not even be your deep technical specialist that you need. It's everything that sits around that. And that requires training, that requires development. But what it really requires, as well as it requires that leadership and management. So you saying that you've got that, if we call it a squeezed middle, if you like, in terms of the people that are available to do the jobs, but we're expecting more from them. And exactly as you're saying, how do we all end up in a management position? Well, we were probably pretty good at our job in some way, shape or form. So we were rewarded with this gift of being a manager. Nobody necessarily thinks, what am I doing to prepare somebody for that? But it feels fundamental that you are. Why is it so important to be a good manager in this environment?
Because the workforce mindset and expectations has shifted, perhaps one of the biggest shifts since people like you and I have been working. pandemic was obviously a game changer, and we're now living in a post-pandemic world, and therefore people's motivations have shifted, people's communication techniques have shifted. We've got this whole hybrid working from home and not working from home, which again in the next few months will shift because of cost of living and various other demands. So actually making sure people are the lifeblood of your organization. And again, I echo your points about automation. Even if it's automated, people still want to speak to a human being at sometimes, especially in the recruitment process. Do you as an agency really care about my business, or are you just going to send me a load of CVs? I've got reasons for doing that, but I need you to really understand my culture. So investing in managers to be managers, to have leadership skills, to understand why people do what they do, how we can help people become world famous in their career. And at the very, very least, they actually don't mind coming to work. But at the very best, they're looking forward to coming to work, to being a part of your brand, to contribute and be a part of the solution. So everything between those two, you've got to make sure people are looked after to the right degree and managers feel confident, competent to do a great job.
What do you think is the onus on a business, on the leaders of that business? How do they go about creating those good managers? What do they need to do, would you say?
Press pause in their business. We're constantly, we've awoken from hibernation called lockdown, and we've hit the ground sprinting, and we're not pressing pause enough. We're just thinking, don't worry, we'll do what we did last time. It'll be perfectly okay. We'll go faster, faster, faster. Whip people into shape. Doesn't work, and it isn't working, and there's too many casualties. So business leaders, press pause, look in the mirror. Does our behavior, we talk a lot about this on the Management Academy, does our behavior right now align to the results we want? And a really stupidly simplistic example of this, Kate, is if I want to lose, let's say, 14 pounds in weight, but I keep eating pizza and cream cakes, do you think there's alignment? No. I either got to change my results I want by downgrading my weight loss or change my behavior. If we want to capitalize on a market, if we want to grow in this environment, if we want to survive the uncertain times ahead, does our behavior as business leaders right now align to that result? If the answer is yes, brilliant, but at least check. Compass check, I call it. If the answer is no, you have two choices: downgrade your results or change your behavior. The same thing then for managers. We've got to start thinking as business leaders that managers can learn on the job. The answer, of course, is they can, but at what cost? And often the investment people make, it's far too expensive. Is it compared to the cost of not having experienced, confident, competent managers? So that frees business leaders up to steer their ship into better waters and achieve their business goals they want to achieve. So, yeah.
So this is something that I've heard you speak about in terms of the evolution of management, and because what you're saying is that there is a time and a place for getting this right, and it feels like you're saying why this has never been more important. But what is it about that evolution to you that says that we've got to treat this as a critical success factor?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll share with you on screen will be the evolution of engagement, which we came up with a number of years ago, and mainly as a timeline. Way back, I'm talking way back, there was masters and slaves. Okay, so masters were in control, slaves, as you're told, or you got hurt or you were killed. I'm never going to think about that in the current climate, but that was that low engagement. Over time, we move into what's called bosses and workers. Now, you might traditionally think of that as office-based or manufacturing, engineering, and so on. Bosses, ivory tower, workers, minions, as they were known, on the shop floor. We don't communicate, we don't talk to each other. Oh, no. A bit more engagement because no one gets hurt or killed. We then move into managers and team members, which sounds great. And managers engage with their teams. They talk to their team members. They understand their team members. And that is much better than the previous two. But you've also now got silos. So perm desk don't talk to temp desk, okay? Or marketing don't talk to sales, or because that's what happens. And I'll share with you in a minute a really fundamental shift in what we call people in the recruitment industry, which I think, and I know from feedback on the current program, is having some serious success. That in a minute. Ultimately, we'd like to get to leaders and stakeholders. That's engagement. And the whole idea of a stakeholder, and that word has been overused before, I know, but do I feel like I belong? Do I feel like I'm part of this organization? Am I just a number? Am I just someone who is bringing money in or failing? Am I disposable? Am I valued? And we talk on the Management Academy about the psychological safety. And there are 4 stages, which we go into in much more detail. And when they go away, they look at the culture in their organization and say, how can we further improve our culture? How can we be the cultural architects that makes this a firm we attract, train, and retain the right people? So that's a really important point to go and do this. It all comes back, Kate, to some research done, which was backed by the government but independently run back in 2013, so not too long ago, where they found the 4 enablers of engagement. And I won't go through all of them in great detail. The first one, of course, is strategic narrative. Where have we come from? Where are we going? Where are we now? How are we going to get there? People need to know, are we on a journey, or I'm just doing what I'm doing because no idea. What's my sense of purpose? Okay. Second one, ta-da, engaging managers. Now, there's a shock horror. Okay. This talks about treat me like a human being, not a human resource. Okay. Hence, many HR teams now called people and culture teams. Great move forward. Other one is deal with dysfunctional behavior. If you don't deal with dysfunctional behavior because you're not confident or you don't want to rock the boat, I lose trust in you. I lose faith and respect for you. Why would I follow you? You're weak. Okay. So giving managers, business leaders, and middle managers the opportunity and the skills to feel confident to deal with those dysfunctional behaviors, often, hopefully, with positive outcomes. Third one, employee voice. Listen to me. I may have some really good ideas. I am probably talking to the clients and the candidates more than perhaps you are. This is a rich source of information. Tap into this because I could come up with some ideas or steer you in a direction that can help this business flourish and thrive. But the worst thing ever, and I'm sure you've experienced this through talking to many people, Kate, in your time, but one of the crippling things many managers do is they take an idea from their team. They go to the management team meeting, the senior team meeting, or the board meeting saying, I've had a really good idea. And they nick the idea. That is one surefire way to stop the production of ideas. You've got to embrace, this is about servant leadership. This is about saying, I'm here to help you become awesome. Because if you're awesome and you're awesome and you're world famous and you're unique, guess what? We're rocking here. We're doing really, really well. So that's a key thing. And the last one is sense of integrity. Do what you say you're going to do. If I had many more hours with you on this podcast, Kate, I would bore you to death with the amount of hypocrisy we have witnessed in both senior leaders and leaders. And anyone who's on LinkedIn with me will see me produce some provocative videos about said subject, be it political or whatever, but it's all on there. So yeah, do what you say you're going to do. If you can't do it, don't promise it.
No, and that thread of integrity, I think, is the thing that runs through everything you said. For me personally, and it's the thing that always guides so many of us in our career decisions, in our life decisions, and how those things join together. And you'll feel it before you have any evidence of it. Is my experience. You will absolutely, there'll be that gut instinct that tells you before anything else happens. And what I was reflecting on when you were talking just then is that there's if you are allowed to own that and to feel like you can express it, then everybody really can benefit. I'm really interested in what you were saying about how the boss nicking the ideas, and perhaps that undermines everything. Unless, if I was to argue with that slightly, unless you use that to your advantage. And it's not that should be the way that we work, but sometimes there is a little bit of like, how do we employ our management skills in managing upwards?
Oh yeah.
And if I can get somebody to repeat exactly what I've said in the way that we wanted it to happen, and they claim credit for it and claim it as their idea. I'm thinking particularly around clients in this particular instance. You're like, massive tick, I'm going to let you have that one.
Exactly.
But it's the seesaw, isn't it? You can't have that all the time. You have to know that there's something that's in it for everybody in those terms. And you have to, and without that sense of trust and integrity, that's what will never move you forward.
That's a really, really interesting point. So as managers, on the first day of any management program, we say is you have one job as a manager, and that's to make your people better than you. If you don't like that, let's discuss it. I'm happy for you to not like it, by the way, but we'll discuss it and see what happens. If you strongly disagree with it, then stop being a manager. Be an awesome recruiter, be an amazing credit control expert, be a fantastic business development manager, whatever it is, but don't be a manager of people. Because the ego won't allow you to grow your people to become world famous. I overuse the word world famous, but I genuinely mean that's the point. If I, as a manager, have a really brilliant idea, but one of my team thinks it's their idea, but if I let them have it, they'll run with it and will work. Have it all day long. Please remember, as a manager of people, when things start to go right, it was your people's effort, energy, and results. When things go wrong, it's your fault. As long as you can get over that, let's talk about being managers. So it's not for everybody. And that's why we don't just, I think the worst thing is making great recruiters, forcing them down the route of management because they get a bit more of this, a parking space, and a few other perks. You've got to want to manage bundles of hormones and emotions. Because when you do, it's just one of the best jobs in the world. It really is. So rewarding.
From your time on the Management Academy, where have you seen this go really well as a result of the program?
It's kind of the light bulb moment. I'll share with you 2 or 3 quick wins that we talk about. So regardless of what happens, here are a few takeaways. Number one, we've got to stop referring to the recruiters, the sales, as the profit centers and the non-sales as the cost centers. I was called a cost center when I worked in IT recruitment, 1999, 2000. I thought, I don't like that because there's a very much them and us. So we've kind of coined a new phrase. We've got income generators, sales, income enablers, non-sales. Because if you take out any of the back office, shall we call them, or the income enablers out, can you generate income as well? I've got so much living proof. And a number of the people on the 2 current REC management academies have taken that and come back to, my God, that's a game changer. I said, really? Yeah. We've now got this positive culture where there's a minimal divide, if any, between the people, and it's one organization. So there's no real conflict. There's no friction. It's about how we work together because all of us play a part in the success of the organization. That's a game changer.
That has to be. And thinking about it right now, when we're all really worried about the cost of living, from our own personal perspectives, from our families' perspectives, from all those people that are dependents, from thinking about our teams and not necessarily having like deep insight into their personal circumstances, but we know it's affecting all of us. And if there is that divide between the high earners and the ones that see themselves as, I'm the one generating the income, but they don't see that it's part of that holistic whole, if you like, and you can't do it without everybody else. That disengagement is going to thrive. So you've got a huge opportunity right now to really embrace this and bring people together. Because if you don't, all I can see is more dangers along the path.
They're going to go. Well, 2 things. They're going to leave you, which leaves you a hole. And the cost of recruitment, you guys know this more than I do, the cost of recruitment is huge. But more importantly, they stay and do the bare minimum because you can't get rid of them. That's the worst thing. So it's things like this. It's really focusing, saying some things I've been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah, still fit for purpose. Some things completely not fit for purpose. But one of the quick things I'll share with you, because I'll give you a couple of tips on this one. And this is what the people have come back and said works really well. We typically have, as humans, a 9-to-1 negativity bias. Sorry to be the bearer of that bad news, it's true. Which means we are more predisposed to think of negative and focus on negative than positive, which has its benefits, but generally in life and in business, not brilliant. Therefore, here's a question I ask everyone on day one. When's the last time you called a meeting or attended a meeting just to focus on why something was flipping awesome, or it rocked, or we hit targets, or we smashed a client expectations, versus the last time you attended a meeting or called a meeting to find out why it went wrong? And often the answer, in fact, almost every single time the answer is, yeah, I don't know. So one delegate on the current program came back last week and said, I called a meeting because one of my younger juniors smashed it out the park, had the best summer in the entire history of our company. And she was someone who just picked up the reins, felt inspired, was self-motivated, a fantastic job. And he said, and then I interrogated her as to how she did it, why she did it, and can we replicate? I went, oh, yes. Now we're winning. Because if we focus on things when they go well as when they don't go so well, we are building a success formula.
That's an engaging,
engagement.
That's an engaging manager, isn't it? That's somebody who has sat there, looked at, are these the outcomes? They absolutely are. What's the behaviors we want to encourage? I need to find out so much more about this. They've engaged, and like you say, then they're winning. So everybody's winning. So isn't that, it's just exactly where we need to be as human beings, because we want that reassurance and we want to be able to do well. Nobody is setting out to do a bad job ever, in my experience.
A few, but not really.
And people that are doing a bad job, they are desperately unhappy in whatever it is. So it's about, what are we doing to help them? How are we getting them out of this cycle? Because there's a reason for this, and it's got to be something that then is, even if it is a case of, right, we've got to help you get into the right place for you, and it may be not here. That's still engagement.
Absolutely right. And actually, that person will probably thank you for doing that, because they feel like, if I quit, I'm a failure, or I can't speak about it because they'll think I'm weak. When actually, the more you understand what makes people tick and what ticks them off, the greater engagement you have. I'm not talking about being everyone's best friend. We're not talking about that. That's very, very fluffy. No. Okay. It's about practicality. And I personally can't stand the term soft skills. It's human skills. Okay. We are human first. In any job that we do, we're human first. And if we can capitalize and maximize on those skills, more people want to work for us. And the sad reality is, still to this day, people don't always leave an organization. They leave their manager. Sad reality.
We all know it to be a fact, and yet we still don't necessarily do everything we can in terms of that investment in that management skills. It's not necessarily about just the technical skills. Everybody needs to know how the business runs. Of course, they need to understand what the operational processes are. But if you don't do the stuff with the managers, that's the whole, and that's why people will be moving on. I couldn't agree with you more. Simon, how do you get involved in the Management Academy? If somebody's listening to this and thinks, yep, I'd like to find out more about this, what do they need to do?
Absolutely. Well, contact the REC. There are various links that will appear on this post, undoubtedly. The next academy we're starting is on the 1st of November. The first day and the last day are face-to-face in the REC offices in London. There's 2 modules. Reason being, you'll meet other people, get to know people, hug, shake hands, fist bump, all that kind of stuff. And then we set the remaining dates, of which there are 6 half days over Zoom, which means you haven't got to worry about traveling to London or anywhere else in the country. You can do it. And being a half a day, you can still do your day job. So get in contact. At this moment in time, I'm still personally running the REC Management Academy until we become inundated. All right. So the November one, I am running this, and I'd look forward to seeing anyone who is curious, or just a bit ambitious about this stuff, or just needs a bit of a shot in the arm of managerial skills. Let's get together. The groups we're running at the moment, they are so supportive of each other, and they're sharing and learning with each other. And for me, that is the best part of the program, because there's not a single PowerPoint slide whatsoever. Let's talk about real stuff. If you want to do a program that's more theoretical, Go to university, go to a bookshop, go to a library, absolutely. But if you want pragmatic, honest, open, real conversations about how to further improve leadership and management and hit your objectives, sign up to the REC Management Academy. I would love to work with you.
So Simon, you were talking very much about of why it's important to be investing in managers, what good management looks like, how you go about that. But we sometimes just think that, oh, we'll just follow those simple steps and then it'll all become apparent. But it doesn't necessarily follow that path. So what are the obstacles that could be in somebody's way when it comes to really improving your management skills?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to, and we've seen a myriad of different obstacles. In fact, we do exercises on the program that says identify the obstacles and then work on obstacle removal strategies or workarounds. My background is behavior change psychology, so lots of one-to-one talk about identifying obstacles before they could possibly happen. People typically don't attend workshops and programs because A, they feel they haven't got time. The answer is they have got time, but they're choosing to do something else with it. And that's okay. If that works for you, go for it. The second thing is, well, if I turn up to that, I'm admitting I'm not a good manager. No. I have people I turn to, so I am by no means the guru. There's no gurus out there.
You are the guru, by the way.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Semi-guru. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have people I turn to because no one knows everything. And I could bore you with Greek philosophy about this and so on, but it's important to keep learning. And what happens today was different to what happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Another block is, well, I don't want to give my ideas to other people. Well, good luck with that, because it's always out there. Okay. If you give an idea, you get an idea. And it's all about sharing and learning with each other. And it's a great community of people who get together. And I suppose the biggest one, people say, oh, it's very expensive. Nothing is too expensive if you see value. And I would ask any recruitment manager, any business leader in recruitment to say, how would you return the conversation if one of your clients said to you, oh, your fees are a bit expensive? Play the same record back to yourself. Okay, it's more expensive to allow people to learn on the job. And according to some research that you guys put out, and every year this research comes out, on average now, accidental managers who do the job, who are not trained or qualified or experienced, cost the UK economy 86 to 89 billion pounds a year. How much is that costing your business?
Yeah, and we were all talking about labor and skills shortages. I talk about it so much that I end up feeling like I'm a bit of a broken record myself. So if I'm boring myself, this must be fair. But we're saying that there is such a fundamental issue with our labor market that there has to be an onus on us looking. Yes, we look at our government and we say, right, what is it that we need to be doing in terms of education and training so people are jobs ready? But you don't just come out of school fully formed and ready for that. And it's not the end of the journey. None of us like to think of that ourselves. So why would you think your people are like that? There's got to be that ongoing investment. And it has to be seen as an investment, and it can't be that standalone. We now know you don't just buy a bit of tech and then that's the end of that. We know that we've got to have a digital strategy. I feel the same has to be true of your learning strategies.
Completely. You have to make sure, no, you have to. There are two possible futures. Option one, option two. Both have consequences. It's your choice. But by pressing pause, looking at your business rather than working in it, even for half an hour, say, are we doing the right thing here? Are we investing in people so they can become world famous? And one thing we do a lot of on the Academy, and I'm a massive fan of this, is measure return on investment. Otherwise, don't do it. There's got to be something you can say, as a result of these managers, this manager doing this program, I want to see X, Y, and Z improved. We'll work with that person because there's free phone coaching throughout the entire REC Management Academy. It's not just we get together half a day, once a month, and so on. Use and abuse that free phone coaching as much as you want to talk about real issues. And what's great, the current programs, a lot of the delegates are using it and they're really enjoying using it because it's free, it's unlimited, and it's confidential.
That's so helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.